people are constantly raising the bar.
Sacrifices need to be made.
What would you guys say are your biggest weaknesses?
You are your enemy right now.
It's success of life.
Just a fucking podcast.
Hey guys, welcome to the Student Side Hustle. This week I'm speaking to Thomas Moore, or TM Cycles. So, Thomas, how did you get into this? How did this all start? How did you get into fitness?
Good question. I originally got into lifting, I would say, not really in the industry as such, when I was about sort of 16, 17.
Yeah.
It was weirdly when I first started watching, I don't think you would know, you might know actually, of a series or a film called This Is England.
Yeah.
And it's quite popular over here, and it's sort of big skinhead guys, and I was really into Tom Hardy's Bronson, and I wanted to try and emulate that sort of image as best as possible. So I started eating ridiculous amounts of food, not tracking calories, and lifting. Well, had no idea whilst I was lifting. Yeah. And I just gained a ton of weight, not good weight, and then I went and did an apprenticeship in personal training. So I got my level 3, which isn't really anything to be super proud of. I think a lot of people rely way too much on the level 3 personal training certificate as a means to think that they have exponential knowledge, but it's not. I just did it to get it under my belt, and that's when I met Luke Johnson, who is the founder of Shredded by Science. And me and him work together now. He's a great friend, mentor, and from that point in which I met Luke until now, it's been very much sort of scientifically based research through training, through diet, and that has also been mirrored by my sort of fascination and appreciation for anabolic steroids and their scientific role as well.
Yeah, because it's like, for someone like me, it's like I lift very casually. I don't think I'll ever be doing physique. I'll never be doing any kind of bodybuilding. I don't think I'll be doing powerlifting either. It's like, for me, I don't like, it's hard for me. I can see the use for steroids, and I definitely don't see why people have such a, like, there's some people who have such a hatred towards them. And it's like, people use caffeine and they use fuck tons of caffeine, and it's like,
of course,
people are fine with that, this chemical, but then they're not fine with this other chemical. And I get it's like harder stuff, but it's like,
of course,
it's sort of all relative. What would
it is? I mean, it's a massive stigma that is attached to steroids, and I don't. It's an odd one, because back in the sort of 70s and 80s era, you had Arnold and the guys quite openly talk about, I might wake up and have a couple of D-bol, and that it was very open. Then it sort of dipped into this really weird underground phase where it was incredibly hush-hush, and now it's lifted up again, but it's been brought up from the darkness with the stigma very much attached. And I think people's image of steroids, when you mention the word, is sort of dingy, dark lighting with taps dripping and big guys sharing needles, and it's far from that. Yeah. So that was the reason why I started the YouTube channel, was to try and shed some light on it, and to give it the perspective of, here's an educational sort of backing, and here's the truth behind it. And like with anything, not just steroids alone, if you're going to abuse a substance, it's going to lead to health complications. And I think that it's slowly turning. I think the respect for anabolic steroids is slowly being introduced, and I think people are becoming more aware of it. However, there are certain people in the world that don't. They want to continue with the very, very narrow-minded vision of steroids are bad, they'll kill you, and you'll get roid rage and do something atrocious, which is far from it. Yeah,
it's like, it's a very stigmatized thing, and especially in this, like, in 2018, it's like everyone has picture perfect life, like it's Instagram, like all that shit. It's like, and
of course,
people aren't, if people's business is, oh, look at my body, I got this body, you can get it too. A lot of people don't say, I did use steroids though. And it's like, the thing
of course,
people like me who don't know like jack shit about steroids is, it's hard for us to grasp how much it actually,
of course,
like what it actually does, and if it's going to give you the same boost as like a protein powder, if it's going to give you the same boost as like, I don't know, like actual good training. Like if it's
of course, and that is the problem, and that is where the stigma very much is attached, is the general public. And like I say in all my videos, I'm in no position to be saying that I'm promoting the use of anabolic steroids. It is just here is what is happening, and here is what happens to your body if you take a small amount, whilst being implemented in a healthy regime. And you've got the funniest thing I always say is that you have people in 2017, 2018 that are so open about alcohol consumption and oh my god, I did so much cocaine last night. But then when someone like myself is asked in a club, oh, do you take steroids? I go, yeah, I take steroids. They almost look around and look over their shoulder and say, whoa, don't shout that shit out. But you've just snorted a line of cocaine in the toilet. It's just it's incredible.
Yeah, it's like it's sort of just like, it's very strange to think this is okay, but this is not okay, even though.
Oh, of course.
Like I don't know the laws or regulations, but it's like they're probably at a similar level of illegality. Like it's not. They're probably both not like.
Well, yeah,
yeah.
Of course, in certain it's illegal. In England, it's legal. So if I get stopped in the street, for example, by a policeman and he says, "Can I look in your gym bag?" and I bring out vials of testosterone, he is in no power to do anything. Obviously, if he stopped me and I had 1,000 vials of Tren on, are you looking to distribute? But even then, it's a grey area for police. Is that how do I know this guy's distributing, or how do I know this guy's just taking a fuck ton of steroids and he's huge? So that's where even I talked about in my most recent video, GPs and police and members of the NHS, they're not aware, and it's something that they need to be, because it's increasing. Don't get me wrong, it's growing incredibly quickly, and more individuals are using anabolic steroids, but the lack of support that is out there is worrying. So you've got guys like myself and Dave Crosland, and there's other people in the industry that are trained by JP, for example, is another example, massive fan of himself, that are putting out content to say, look, you guys are going to experiment, because our current generation is very, very experimental. If you are going to do it, please do it in the most safest way possible. Get your bloods done, get your ECGs, get your liver checked, get your kidneys checked. And look, if you're implementing that with a good diet and good training, and you're not drinking every night and you're not taking recreational drugs, I can't see much negative side effects that are going to occur.
Because is there many like physical side effects? Say for myself, I don't know what a relatively small dosage is, but say if I was taking like a relatively small dosage, I weigh like 64 kgs. It's like I'm a really small guy. If I was going to take like a real small amount, would I immediately be seeing side effects, or would I just instantly blow up to 80 kgs, or like how does that sort of thing work?
Yeah, of course. That again, that's part of the delusion, is that people think that if you take a 10-week cycle, for example, you're going to turn into Jay Cutler overnight, and that isn't the case. I mean, I get it all the time. You don't look like you're on steroids, but every time people meet me, for example, they go, "Wow, you're much bigger in real life than you are on camera." But for me, I've always said it. I was way too young. I was way too inexperienced when it come down to training to be using anabolics, but I was impatient. So someone like yourself at 64 kilos, I would very much be pressuring you into gaining a large sum of mass naturally before you would even think about taking anabolics. But if you were to bypass that and go, I'm going to ignore Tom, and you're quite entitled to do so, then I would say, okay, look, if you are going to do it, run a 10-week or even an 8-week cycle of 250 to 300 milligrams of test, for example, because you're not a huge guy. You're going to see massive increases in testosterone, which will therefore relate into huge amounts of muscle protein synthesis, and that implemented with a good calorie surplus and periodized training, you're going to see a huge amount of increase. So I think I gained about 8 to 10 kilos in my very first cycle. I went from sort of 80 to 90, but I should have been at the 90 kilo mark before I started taking. But we live and learn.
How long were you? How old training wise were you when you like first took steroids?
I was very inexperienced in I was training the bro splits when I was at school at about sort of 16 and 17, I'd leave the gym and, I'd stick a cigarette in my mouth. And I think, when you look back at it as a child, you think, this is ridiculous. I had no understanding of meal timing and protein and things like that. So in terms of actual hard training, again, it wasn't periodized in the sense that I'm doing this week and that week. I just enjoyed training, but probably I had about less than a year under my belt of actual training before I took steroids. And even when I was taking anabolic steroids at the age of sort of 19 to 20, 21, I was still learning. So, I kick myself now because the knowledge that I have with regard to diet and training and steroids. Yeah. If I had that, when I started, I would have pushed myself to my natural limit of maybe whatever size or weight and age of like 23. And then I'd have started, and I would have then seen a huge, vast improvement from that point to now. Yeah. But this is why I'm sort of trying to advise people to not do what I did, basically.
Yeah. And to sort of because literally for everyone else, everyone that I go to the gym with, I don't know anyone that openly takes steroids. Maybe there's people I know that do, but it's I'm not aware of it, and I don't it's so hard for the 16, 17, 18-year-old getting into the gym, skinny guy, just wants to get big to impress girls. It's for some of those people, they don't know. And it's, especially for me, it's it's so hard to figure out what's, if you're going to take it and then instantly, boom, add 20 kgs, or you're instantly going to take it, be super angry, get so many pimples, it's so hard for people to sort of figure out the actual reality of it.
It is, but it's not helped by fake naturals, the fake natty crew. Yeah. Your Simeon Pandas, your Myco Trends. It's that falsified image of, listen, by my plan, eat chicken, rice and broccoli every 2 hours and just train one body part a day. It's just one body part a week. It's just ridiculous. But I think everyone's head is slowly becoming screwed onto their shoulders, and we can out these people now. We're not stupid. I think their time has almost come and gone now for trying to pull the wool over our eyes. But we know, anyone who has some form of understanding of how training, diet, and definitely anabolic steroids works, we know. These jumps in people's physiques. Yeah, and the huge jumps in their bench press and their squat and their deadlift. You think, look, if you've been training that naturally for 4 years, and slowly adding that weight onto the bar, and all of a sudden your bench goes from 110 to 150. Yeah, the chances of that coming from fucking creatine are very slim. Do you know what I mean? So it's just incredibly obvious to us lot, I suppose.
Yeah, I feel because for myself, I've been lifting for 2 years now, and only in the last 6 months have I sort of looked into the actual realities of steroids a lot, and then I've looked obviously when you look at people like fucking Simeon Panda, he's fucking huge, and it's 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 hard to believe that guy isn't actually natural, but then
the interviews that he gives with Ulysses, and I think they were asked, they did a Q&A together. It was cute. They were both sitting in chairs, and they were like two sort of petulant school children that were smirking, almost. I mean, it just looked so overtly obvious that these lot were just lying through their teeth. They were going, "Oh no, I've known Simeon and I've known Ulysses for X amount of years, so he can't be on it." I mean, just fucking hell, man. And then all you've got to do nowadays is go in the comments section. I mean, it's like a comedy show in itself, the comment section.
And it's just kind of but the problem with it is it's then you'll see people for example, David Lade, I don't know if you're aware of him. He's a Gymshark guy. People like him and people like Rob Lipset, people like Student Aesthetics, and it blows the line. Yeah, for some people, it's hard to tell if he's just a normal guy who just has great genetics, or if he's just
of course, and
and then it completely blurs the line.
Yeah, sure. And don't get me wrong, genetics plays such a huge
Mm,
role in it. And I know guys that take anabolic steroids with poor genetics and they still can't, shift it. And myself included, I'm not genetically gifted in this area of bodybuilding. But again, I'm fairly good friends with Joe Delaney, and me and him met up. I suppose the proper word is collab. But for me, and looking at guys like Joe and Rob, and seeing very slow increases there's never been any defining point where I would have looked at Joe or Rob and gone, he's on steroids.
Yeah.
But and these guys do potentially have great genetics. I mean, if you look at Delaney's physique throughout the years, and Rob's, and I'm sort of aware of student aesthetics, and I've just come about with David Lade because he seems to be plastered everywhere on Gymshark at the moment.
Yeah.
But taking into consideration his height and his frame, and I'm just with Nate Diaz now, where he said in his press conference, everybody's on steroids. Do you know what I mean? So it's like he's not wrong there. You just all it is now is, if it were to come out that Usain Bolt or whoever was on steroids, I wouldn't be shocked. Do you know? I just okay, yeah. Fair
I definitely
enough.
feel like when it comes to like the Olympics at this point and stuff like that, it's like I don't doubt it's like 90% steroids, just because it's like you're at that level. It's like you're gonna do whatever you have to do, and it's like it's not even like it's shady. It's just like taking your creatine. It's I feel like it's just like that at that point.
There's a great documentary, I don't know if you watched it, called Icarus.
I have seen
it's really good. Free my boy Grigory, he's fantastic. But he really enlightened individuals who are a bit delusional on steroids in the Olympics, and they're all on it. The Olympics is if you're shaving off this amount of time every single Olympics of 100 meters, and people are lifting this and running this, and it's unnatural. Do you know what I mean? So they're all on it.
I feel like it's kind of at the point where I would be in favor of them literally just saying, at the Olympics, steroids are okay, because then everyone's in the clear.
For it.
And it's like, I feel
Precisely.
like it's kind of just like, it's the peak of human performance at all these sports. Why not just do what everyone else is actually just doing?
Absolutely. I agree totally with you. And these guys are at the height of their genetics as well. So at the end of the day, if they're at their top of their game, just let them. There was an interview with one of the radio presenters called James O'Brien on LBC, and he said, look, I would rather just say to these athletes, go out there, take whatever you want, because people want to watch it. It doesn't, but and the Lance Armstrong saga as well was mind blowing for me as well. And he even said in the interview, would you do it again? He went, fuck yes, I'd do it again. Do you know what I mean? So
and I
think
like
I'm with you on that one. Oh yeah. I think his teammates, he was and
it's like he's the only one getting pinned just because he was the best, and it's like,
of course. I mean, you see, there's a guy who runs for us called Dwayne Chambers who got done for taking anabolic steroids, and he was juiced up to his eyeballs, and he came fifth or fourth. So this isn't just inject into my arse and I'm going to win a gold medal. It doesn't work like that. Do you know what I mean? So it's crazy.
I feel like it's just so like, it's so, because it's just like, I don't see when people are honest about it, I'm completely fine with their steroid use, because it's like it's literally just like proper training and nutrition. It's just comes along with it. It's a supplement, whatever. Like, but then you get people where they dodge the line. Like, for example, the one example that I'm really thinking of is David Lade, because the thing that has made me, I used to be a huge David Lade fan, but in the last whatever amount of weeks, his bench has gone from like 305 to nearly 405 in a matter of weeks, and he just happens to be releasing a program. And
of course,
that's where I'm like,
I'm like I said, I'm incredibly dubious about David,
Yeah.
and it all clicks.
Yeah.
As soon as these guys get a taste of success and how much money they could potentially earn through X amount of followers on Instagram, it's okay, shit, I could make even more if my physique looked even better.
Yeah.
So let me just take, I mean, he could have just taken a small oral cycle of something to harden his physique up and increase his bench.
Yeah.
This thought process that because, for example, like the physique guys on the Olympia stage, people go, no, they're natural because if you compare them to the open category, Dallas McCarvers and your Phil Heaths, and it's not. It's the Dallas McCarvers and the Phil Heaths are using a shit ton of gear compared to the physique athletes that are probably taking still a good amount of gear, but just not as much. Do you know what I mean? So, yeah, I'm pretty certain that David might have dabbled with something. But like, what I want to make quite an assertive point is that I don't disrespect anyone that takes anabolic steroids because the amount of effort and training and diet that needs to go in to look like Simeon. I respect Simeon's physique. Well, I think he looks incredible. He's got Arnold Schwarzenegger's measurements, I think. Yeah. But where the disrespect lies is lying to the young kids that look up to and idolize. And then it's almost inhumane. I think it's borderline disgusting. That's when I really lose total respect for people. But you must understand these people that think steroids are an easy cop out and a quick, shortcut to looking like the Mr. Olympia is incredibly delusional.
Could we go into some of the solid facts that you've learned over the years, because it's very hard for people to grasp, and I think this would be a great platform for people to learn what is the true reality. Because there was a while ago where there was this YouTuber that I was watching, and he was talking about this is like a pretty shady YouTuber. You might know him. He made a lot of very weird content. I can't even remember his name anymore. He was a cyclist, and his name's something Ryder.
I know exactly who you're talking about. The vegan.
Yeah.
Yeah, fucking screw loose. Yeah, absolute nut job. I think him and Vegan Gains. I quite like Vegan Gains, by the way. If you know them.
Yeah, I know,
he's borderline psychotic in some videos, but I think the point that he's trying to get across is, especially when he was doing the worst of the fitness industry, I thought was. I don't know why he stopped that. I'd like him very much to continue. Yeah,
and it's obviously something that's going to drive traffic for him, but it's also shedding light on people and being realistic. It's like
exactly. And
it's like, I don't know who he's done, but it's like, I think it's a pretty realistic series. But what are some of the hard realities of steroids and the things that people don't really know and you can't really find out with a Google search sort of stuff?
Good question. I mean, are you talking in terms of the potential side effects, or are we talking?
Can we start off with the actual muscle mass gain benefits sort of side of things?
Yeah, sure. So, any individual that is going to see a huge amount of increase in testosterone, and therefore the increase in protein synthesis as well, is going to gain a considerable amount of weight. There's been studies that have cited individuals that have gained muscle, just pure lean body mass, through doing absolutely nothing. I think the trial was done on individuals that took, I think, 300 milligrams, 500 milligrams, and the two groups trained in the gym, resistance trained, and the other group did nothing. They just took it and continued about their day and however many steps they were doing. And individuals that didn't lift any weights still increased lean muscle mass, lean body mass by, I think it was a solid 2 to 3 kilos. Yeah, it may be slightly skewed. I haven't got the information in front of me. Yeah, but obviously implementing anabolic steroids into either phase, a cutting phase or a bulking phase, lean tissue is going to be added. Essentially, if you are a beginner and looking at taking anabolic steroids, then usually it would be implemented in some form of small calorie surplus. Yeah. But the extremity in which you can go with in terms of cutting or bulking is far more than a natural.
Yeah.
So if you're using anabolic steroids whilst in a cutting cycle, for example, or a cutting phase, you can go a little bit more extreme compared to someone that's natural.
Yeah.
Because you are almost permanently in this anabolic environment, in the sense that muscle wastage isn't necessarily going to occur if certain contributing factors are in place.
Yeah.
But the reality of it is, here is testosterone. If it's injected into your system, you're going to see a huge increase in muscle, if implemented in good training and diet. There's no sort of weird secrets or hacks or anything like that. We could go down the road of the potential side effects for someone that would, they could see gynecomastia occur because of a huge estrogen imbalance, and again, it can be managed. These side effects that are so demonized in the media and by people that have done Google searches don't understand that, yes, there are side effects. I'm not denying that at all. I'm lucky in the sense that I haven't experienced any. And they're controllable. They are controllable through the usage of other drugs, Arimidex, Aromacin, for example. But there isn't essentially anything that wouldn't be on a Google search. I mean, if you've got any questions, just fire them away.
Yeah, like the sort of things, because you said you hadn't experienced any side effects. Do you know of people who have experienced major side effects? Like, does it vary from person to person?
Yeah, the big debate when it comes down to individuals experiencing, massive side effects, you start to then go, right, have they got a pre-existing health condition? So an individual may elicit the same dosage as me, for example, but he might have a family history of kidney damage or something wrong with their heart in the family, which happened to Dallas. But the thing with Dallas McCarver is that his dosages was ridiculous. From the results that we received back after he passed away, I think it was a crazy amount of grams we were talking about of anabolic steroids. But that, coupled with the fact that I think it was on his mother's side, had poor heart health or conditions to the heart, that's life or death. And in this case, it was death. Unfortunately, Dallas was incredible. I really admired him and very much watch his stuff now. But that is where things can slightly go wrong if individuals have got, and it's very hard to determine whether you have pre-existing conditions or not. This is why I'm a massive advocate of getting your bloods done prior to going on anabolic steroids, because you may feel healthy, but you don't know. You see footballers that are incredibly fit drop dead on football pitches with malfunctioning hearts, and you could be ticking along fine, thinking that your heart's okay. All of a sudden, you put in what you think is a low dose of testosterone, and boom, lights out.
Would that occur? Would that be something that you'd need to worry about at the very start? Like, would you? How do you go about getting your bloods done and getting checks done? Because for me, I wouldn't know where to start. I would just have no clue.
Sure. So it would be, for me personally, I see my GP. My doctor's very, very open in the sense that he understands that what I do isn't to be recommended by a doctor. I don't expect my doctor to go, oh yeah, sure, continue, good luck with the show. He has to do the doctor. He has to do the doctor thing and go, right, firstly, I don't advise you to take this. To which I'll reply with, thank you very much for your concern, doctor, but it's the choice that I'm making. And he says, fair enough, here's the blood test. So for people who don't have doctors that are quite as lenient, then there are plenty of options like Medichecks that you can send your blood sample off, or you can go to an actual location in London or around the world where you can give your bloods. And usually I think it's called the sports check, which covers the kidneys, the heart, the lipids, the liver, and things like that. So I've got an ECG tomorrow to check my heart and see how that's getting on. That was through the NHS. the poor state that our NHS is in, it's still very much functioning and can help certain people. But like I said, there's different avenues to go down in either case.
So would the main check that people should get done be the blood test?
Yeah, definitely. So the blood test alone will be able to tell you differences with kidneys and liver function and your lipids and things like that.
Yeah.
In terms of pre-existing heart conditions, that it has to be more than just a blood test. But one single blood test isn't going to show that you've got a malfunctioning chamber in your heart, for example. And the simple conversation of speaking to family and relatives to say, look, has either your mum's mum or your dad's dad gone into some form of cardiac arrest, or has there been history of it? And then it almost like going through the ancestry like that. And then if it is, they do, then you're going to have to be open with your doctor. I think it's very, very crucial that you're open with your doctor, because the last thing you want to happen is not to tell your doctor that you're taking anabolic steroids. Something incredibly severe happened to you, and then if you're being stretched off and can't speak, and everyone around you saying, is he taking anything, they need to know. You know what I mean? They need to go, right, he's on this, okay, we can administer this to help him. So it's very, very important to get these checks done.
So I think in New Zealand, we have, like, say my doctor always asks me, like, do you do cigarettes, do you drink alcohol, and then they'll ask, do you smoke weed, do you do other things? Like, they do ask questions like that, like,
of course, and
I know it's relatively private, like, they're not going to go and tell your mum that you do anabolic steroids, like, they're not going to go and do shit like that.
No, they don't, of course.
So it's relatively, like, safe, I guess, legal wise, but it's like, what about, like,
well, I've never sat down at sort of 16, 17 or 18 and even said, I've had the usual, do you smoke, do you drink, do you have sex unprotected, but there's no mention of, do you take anabolic steroids, which, I mean, why not? This is what should be rolled out in GP surgeries. And what gets me is it's nothing new. The steroids aren't this new thing that's just broken onto the market. They've been around for years. So if they've been around for so long, why has there been no simple education been implemented for just the basic GPs to understand? Because some GPs don't even know what creatine is. Do you know? They don't. If some don't know what there are a vast variety of supplements on the market, but it's their job to keep up with the market as well.
And it's like, I feel like it's because the thing is, I don't know how many people out of, like, what percentage of the population would or could take steroids, and I can see why they wouldn't be asking it at every appointment, but it's like, I feel like it's something, like, if they're going to ask me about smoking weed, I feel like steroids are more dangerous than that if you're taking them irresponsibly, or if they coincide with another something else.
You're quite right. I think marijuana and cannabis and steroids are very much, I know they're being sort of pending in the same conversation, the topic of conversation, and there's so much research out there now to suggest that marijuana, in terms of a medical backing for individuals with schizophrenia, for example, and these life-changing disorders has become so positive, yet they still want to put their fingers in their ears, and they still want to bury their head in the sand and say, no, this is bad and this is this, and it's about time that the times changed and we started rolling it out, I suppose.
I feel like, especially because in New Zealand there's quite a, when we talk about marijuana, there's quite a positive culture around it. Like, people are pretty honest that people do it. It's like, not too many people are still lying to themselves. It's still illegal, which I think should really be changed, because everyone's doing it anyway, and there's no information out there about it. Like, I used to do it quite a lot when I was a kid, and then
Yeah.
My
So did
friend's
I.
mum had to tell me that there are things that could go wrong with it, and I just didn't. I was like, oh, it's whatever. I just didn't see an issue with it, and it's just
Yeah, no,
like,
of course. I don't expect the doctors to say, right, here's how to roll a spliff and make sure you fold
Yeah.
the ends and use this Rizzler. I
Yeah.
don't expect that, but
Yeah.
the same guidelines with steroids, I don't expect a doctor to say, right, this is
Yeah.
how to inject.
yeah,
Well, to a certain degree, I do, because the injections come with a massive consequence. If you start injecting, the amount of times that I've had people say, "Oh, am I supposed to inject into a vein?"
yeah,
I'm like, what planet are you on where you think you're supposed to administer anabolic steroids into your fucking vein? And it's, who have they got to turn to?
yeah,
So yeah, I think our generation, like I said before, are very experimental, and our mums and dads are on the tail end of that, in the sense that back in their youth they were very, very experimental. I know my mum and dad were not like avid drug users. I'm just saying, you would dabble, and
Yeah. generally
generally the information is sort of passed down via that sense.
Yeah.
And it's just mad. It is just mad.
What about? Can we go through the actual process of taking steroids? Because this is something that, if I think it'd be relatively hard to find, unless it's like all that I've seen is from either like a forum post or like even just a YouTube video. But what is the? How do you go through that process in like a safe way that isn't going to like screw anything up?
Sure, yeah. So I got the majority of my information from William Llewellyn, who has released many books.
Yeah.
I sounded like the Anchorman then, many leather-bound books, but he has got many collections of the anabolic steroid. They're like Bibles for anabolic steroids. So I got my information from there, really, in terms of injection sites and what's the safest way to administer anabolic steroids. And that coupled with YouTube videos by doctors that have shown to implement certain techniques to inject.
Yeah.
And when you sort of boil it down, really, here's a needle, here's the substance inside the syringe.
Yeah.
Put it in your body and press the plunger. So it can be quite daunting. I remember my very first injection. I was very nervous. I remember shaking and spending like half an hour, chickening out from putting it in my glute. And when you do put it in and you administer it, you think, oh my God, it's hit straight away. You know what I mean? Like the next day you're in the gym and you're like lifting double the weight, and it's just purely placebo, because it takes far longer than one day, especially testosterone enanthate, for example. But the whole process is as simple as ordering a book from Amazon. You can buy this stuff online. It can get sent almost next day delivery to your house.
Yeah.
And then some suppliers are even kind enough to send you the needle and syringe, in like tie it up in a pretty little bow for you, and there you go.
Yeah.
That's their job, essentially, to sell it in the first place. But having that 10-week cycle would be very simple. It would be like 2 vials, for example. Yeah. 2 small 10 ml vials. You would administer an injection twice a week, for example. Yeah. To hit your 500 milligrams or however many milligrams that you want to start on. And then you'd run that for 10 weeks, preferably implemented in a strength training program or a hypertrophy program in which you're looking to increase size and weight. Yeah. And then you would wait 2 weeks from your last injection for it to come out of your system, and then that's when you'd implement post-cycle therapy, which is overlooked by many inexperienced and uneducated people. Yeah. Which post-cycle therapy is basically trying to restore your natural testosterone levels through helping the balance of estrogen, and other things can be implemented as well, like HCG. I've done many videos on HCG and how it can, retain the size of your testicles on cycle, and it can improve recovery. I've got quite a few clients that I'm using as not guinea pigs really, but using as almost like scientific experiments just
Yeah.
to say I've put them on this dosage and they've recovered remarkably. My recent client's he's just come off the back of a 10-week cycle.
Yeah.
He's done his PCT. I made him take HCG throughout the cycle, and his recovery's been incredible. You know,
Yeah.
it took him, I think, a week, and he's feeling absolutely fine. So, essentially it's one massive game. It's a big science experiment. Everyone differs. This is the thing with steroids. You cannot say this worked for me, so it will work for you. Everyone differs. Everyone's so sensitive to Arimidex. Everyone's really sensitive to Tren. So it's very hard to pinpoint and say, right, this is the best dosage.
Yeah.
So my standpoint would then to be, right, everyone differs. So the best thing to do in this situation is start low and increase if needed. It's as simple as that.
So would you say, for example, if I asked the question for myself, I'm not actually going to be taking steroids anytime soon, but if you were to recommend a dosage, say I've been training 2 years, I've gained about 10, 12 kgs of muscle mass in 2 years, and would you ever want to give a sort of recommended dosage?
So, I mean, with regard to my steroid clients, I make them fill out a waiver just to say, look, this is purely educational.
Yeah.
You are in complete control of your body. If anything happens to you, it's not my fault. And that's just to cover my back.
Yeah.
The world we're in now, everyone's suing everyone left, right and centre. So that's just to cover my back. So once that's been signed, etc., then they will come to me and once I've received their client information back, for example, which I ask them many questions. Have they run this before? How long have you trained? How, what's your lifestyle like? Do you drink and things like that? But basically, just for a straight up beginner that's probably trained for maybe 5 or 6 years and has reached that quote unquote plateau, a small dosage of either sort of 300 to 500 milligrams of testosterone per week would be the go-to dosage. Yeah. And that's pretty much the basic low dose that you'd see. I mean, you get some drug coaches that come straight and say 750 milligrams of test plus an oral plus this and plus that. And the negative thing there when it comes into play with using different compounds of steroids is that you don't know what one's working. Yeah. So this is why I'm not a fan of individuals using RIP blends, which is like a mix of 3 different steroids in one vial, because you don't know what's working and you don't know how your body's getting on. And again, trenbolone is such a strong drug that when people come to me first time and say, should I be using it, is get that thought straight out of your head. This is a drug that should be used 5, 6, 7 cycles down the line, So again, if it was just you and you trained a certain amount, small dose test will be more than enough to elicit great gains in the gym.
And because you said 5 or 6 years, would that be the general guideline about when, if ever, you should hop on?
Again, who's to say it couldn't be 10 years? Yeah. Do you know what I mean? But I know a lot of impatient guys that have hit the 5 or 6 year plateau. Yeah. Even though you've got guys like Nunes and AJ Morris and Josh Bridgman and guys that are continuing day in, day out, year in, year out to add tissue. And it may only be a very, very small amount of tissue. Yeah. But credit to these guys because I couldn't do it. Yeah. And that may be saying something about my own, not self-esteem essentially, but my own patience. Yeah. So full credit to these natural guys out there that are doing it that way. Yeah. But Jeff Nippard's podcast with I forget his name, Mountain Dog, the old guy, was really good. And he said, I full credit goes to these natural guys because they're, what is working with natural guys, because with guys who take steroids, they could have really shit training and really shit diet, but because they're on such a huge amount of gear, they're seeing improvements in their body.
And it's kind of like, I feel like you should definitely be at the point where you've got nutrition nailed down, you've got training nailed down, you've pretty much got every aspect nailed down, and then it's sort of like adding supplements. It's like that kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, even supplements get a huge backlash. Like people, only select few people actually have the thought process that whey protein's really detrimental to your health, and creatine's a steroid, bro, and you know, and things like that. But it was John Meadows, by the way, Jeff Nippard and John Meadows. They did a podcast together. It was really good. I think the topic was on like natural versus enhanced athletes. It was very, very good. But again, what is natural? Because you could argue that supplements aren't. Yeah. You know, and so
that's where it's like beginners begin. They look at creatine and they're like, "Whoa! Like, what is creatine going to do to me?" And they don't they can't see what the actual reality is. Like, they'll think whey protein is this amazing thing. It's like this little skinny kid in the gym, and he's going to go buy Simeon Panda's arm plan. It's like,
of course, and that's just marketing. That's just let me plaster a massive roid head on the side of a whey protein, and it will sell, and it does sell. You know, it sells, and then what we're seeing now is these massive influxes of people that are recommending SARMs, which are like the precursor to steroids, and there's not enough research and scientific evidence to show that these things are safe, and if the question arises a lot, do I feel that SARMs are good? And the question being as vague as it is, I would reply no, because when you have information from a scientific research backing on steroids compared to this new on the market thing of SARMs, don't get me wrong, I think there's definitely scope, and there's definitely a future in SARMs for improvements, but when there's not enough statistical information and we're just going by hearsay, you can't be putting people's lives potentially on the line through anecdotal information.
Yeah, and it's kind of like, because I don't know much about SARMs, but I have heard a bit about them, just from like what's the deal with SARMs? Are these basically like pills, or are these like all sorts of things? Like, what exactly are these?
Yeah, so SARMs are selective androgen receptor modulators, and they almost became incredibly big and in when Enhanced Athlete, who I very much liked. I liked the guys over there that were talking openly about steroids, but YouTube have unfortunately shut their channel down.
Really?
So this is why I'm sort of converting to my own members site, because quite a lot of my videos, a load of my videos actually, when I talk about gear, have been flagged and have been taken down, and it seems like YouTube are really cracking down on individuals like myself and those sort of guys that are talking
shit, to be honest,
openly.
It's like, it is the only place where you can get honest information about it, and it's like I would never go to a member's site, because it's like it's hard for me to figure out like where to actually start, and it's like there would have to be like some funnel like to get people to the member site, like and that's the thing, it's like that's pretty shit, because I feel like YouTube should be the one place where everyone is open as hell about it, because like you can literally talk about anything else. People do, there's channels I've seen on there where people just talk about other drugs, and they talk about it all the time, and it's like and those to my knowledge haven't been taken.
No, they haven't. And when you've got Logan Paul, a famous YouTuber, filming dead bodies in the jungle, and people like us, people like me, that are trying to put out good, honest content, that's when you just think, what the fuck's happened here? And it's financially, again, it's in YouTube's favour to keep on guys like Logan Paul, but the amount of shit that I've seen on YouTube that I think, how is this even available? How have they allowed this to pass through? But they're on my back for giving my own view, and not only my own view and anecdotal backing, research papers to back it up.
It's like
crazy.
You're not just spitting bullshit out of your mouth. It's like you've you've tested it, you've like figured out what is actually safe, you've been and like figured the shit out, and then the research to back it up. It's like then you compare that to like people who are just fucking around, and it's like
Of course, no. It does feel like I'm fighting a losing battle
Yeah.
sometimes, but then I'll get big, spurs and bursts of encouragement from people. And there's been quite a lot of hype at the moment with steroids in the media, in the UK media, and I've had quite a lot of interviews with newspapers and magazines and even the language that they use is very, very demonizing and very, very probing questions and trying to put words into my mouth. And I think, like I said at the start of the podcast, I think that there is good positive movement in this field at the moment. There's an individual called Stephanie that has just been brought to my attention, and she's an actual doctor, and she has put together this survey for anabolic steroid users, and she wants to take results to the Royal Hospital and to other GPs, and to go as far as taking it to the government and saying, look, we have an epidemic almost on our hands here. You need to do something about it. This is the information that I've got. So, I'm never going to stop sort of, don't want to sound like some sort of Martin Luther King individual, but I'm not going to stop the fight, I suppose, for my stance, and a stance that many people agree with, but they're too, they're too introvert to openly stand next to me and say it. You know what I mean? So I feel like I'm representing quite a large portion of people. Yeah,
I feel like, because I see a few people, like, even like some fake naturals saying, I get why people do steroids, and like agreeing with it all, but then still not giving like actual honest information. Like they're just saying, oh yeah, I see why people would do it, but then they just like walk
it's
around.
It's a shame.
The topic.
Yeah, it's a shame, because you can see that they almost want to break out. They want to, really break free from the shackles and say, look, I am on gear, this is what I'm doing, but they're just scared of the potential the loss of sponsorships, for example. They're scared of potential jobs in the future, and I think it's incredibly ignorant and narrow-minded to not offer someone an opportunity for like a sponsorship deal on a supplement line if they take steroids. I think to say no to someone that's incredibly knowledgeable when it comes down to training, diet, and steroids. But when I talk about the movement and it going in a positive direction, Redcon One have got trained by JP back on board, which is fantastic. And they have posted videos. They're the first supplement company, bar Rich Piana, but he was a sort of branded himself. They're the first major supplement company to have videos on anabolic steroids and how to take them safely. And you've got videos of JP sitting there saying, look, I don't recommend doing it, but if you are going to do it, then take it like this. And that's absolutely fantastic. I reached out to the guys and said, you're doing a great job. And I think it's something that I hope to emulate as well with our supplement line, De Novo Nutrition as well, and try and, open people's eyes, really.
Yeah. I'd like to finish off with this. What would be your main pieces of advice or resources that people could go to actually find honest information about steroids?
So there's this really good guy on YouTube called Tim Cycles. I'd definitely recommend listening to him. But no, I mean myself, Dave Crosland is great. Jordan Peters is great. I'm trying to rule people off the top of my head for anabolic steroids. William Llewellyn, who isn't really active on social media, but in the book world, if anyone still reads those things, he's great. He's got many editions of the anabolic Bible. Forums are a tricky one because it's purely anecdotal. So you have to take those with a pinch of salt. But there are some instances on forums where the guys and girls have written up incredible pieces with massive reels of scientific backing. So usually if you come across a post with anabolic steroids and you can see someone's put effort in and have linked studies to sort of back their argument, then that's a positive. But that's all I can really muster up, to be honest. I'm not really in a position to say go and speak to your GP about it, because it isn't that anymore. If it was a different thing, if it was alcoholism and recreational drug usage, then go to your GP, because they're there to help. But this sphere and this realm isn't yet.
Yeah.
So it's the guys that I've mentioned that are probably the best to go to.
Yeah. And where can people find you online? Your Instagram, your YouTube, etc.?
Oh yeah, I'm on the gram, Twitter, Snapchat, YouTube. Just type in TM Cycles or Thomas Moore. I'm releasing my members site sort of mid-February, which will be like a one-off $4.99 month fee.
Yeah.
And that will be going very much in depth into anabolic steroids and how to inject them and certain injection protocols, because I released a video on how to administer a proper injection, and it got taken down straight away. So there's no way that's going on YouTube. So just type in TM Cycles or Thomas Moore, and I'm sure my pretty little ginger face will pop up.
Sweet as. Thank you guys so much for listening to this episode of the Student Side Hustle. I would appreciate so much if you would leave a review if you'd like to hear more of what I'm saying. Then I would love if you would follow me on Instagram or check out my other social media, all linked in the show notes. And again, I would just like to say thank you so much for listening. Have a wonderful evening and study hard.